What's up, everyone? Mark Lobliner, TigerFitness.com, CEO, MTS Nutrition Exos trainer, and of course, CrossFit Level 1 trainer. I just have to say that because I know some people really love when I say it. Anyway, guys, check it out, check it out, check it out. Got to face this to the front. Q&As. The Q&As are pretty simple. I get questions from you on my Facebook page. You can submit them. The first sticky post at the top, it's facebook.com/Mark Lobliner, facebook.com/Mark Lobliner. And this is here to help you. I'm not doing single clickbaity videos. I'm not doing a video on why I hate people, why I don't like people. Now, some other YouTubers' names might come up in the questions, and I sometimes avoid them, I sometimes don't. Just depends on the nature of the question. My goal is to answer these as live as possible, meaning that I don't read these beforehand. I might know the answer, I might not know the answer. I might get the answer right, I might completely fail. But this is how I would answer you if we're in a store. For example, I was at Natural Body in New York, which is an amazing event in Queens, and I was hanging out with people, answering questions, and just having a good time, and then we went and trained hardcore. And I want this to be kind of like an event we'd have in the store. So, without further ado, this comes from Justin Mullins. Hi, Mark. I have a question about stretching and lower back mobility. I've seen a few people in the same situation. I have to wear whatever, they are trying to touch their toes. It seems like their lower back stays flat. And the problem seems to be worse whenever you're sitting on the ground. It looks like just your rib cage comes up over and your lower back stays straight up. Is there any stretches that you can recommend to help this problem? I already foam roll and stretch every day. Honestly, I don't really understand what you're saying here. So essentially, stretching lower back, few people have the same situation that I have to, where whenever they are trying to touch their toes, see if they're low. Well, honestly, I mean, it's a matter of loosening your lower back. Foam rolling is number one. You got to do that. Another thing is just work on the flexibility and mobility. Now, you're foam rolling, but are you getting a lacrosse ball? Getting a lacrosse ball and firmly planting it in your SI and your QLs. Look those up on Google. Getting it in there, making sure your hip mobility is on point, putting the lacrosse ball right here on your hip would be one thing. Some people just have trouble getting into those positions. So what I would recommend for you would be simply, one is using that lacrosse ball to hit those points on target, which is your SI and your QL. Again, look that up on Google to find out where they are. And also make sure to just keep stretching. Some people just aren't flexible. I could probably try to do the splits for the rest of my life, and I won't be able to do it. So just work on flexibility, and you could try the lacrosse ball to get a little more mobility. From Colton Nash, getting back into training after a long hiatus, getting really sore daily. It has been a few weeks and still in pain. Any suggestions as in how to get back into training without much pain? I'm not sure how hard you're training, Colton, but really that's just part of lifting. And that's probably why you had a long hiatus. Sometimes when you stimulate muscle growth and hypertrophy, you're going to be sore. Now, if it's joint pain, that's a problem. You might want to look into your form and how you're doing it. But if you're that sore, here's an answer. Simply back off. You know, don't do as many reps and as many sets. You might be biting off more than you could chew. So what I recommend is cut your volume by half. Cut your training days. Are you training 4 days a week or 6 days a week? Cut your training down to about 4 days a week. And cut your volume down by about half. And then build up from there. What I'm seeing you're doing is you're entering into a advanced lifting program where you've been on a long hiatus. Brother, you can't walk before you crawl. Get back in it. Get back. Lift hard and heavy. Cut the volume back a little bit. Maybe cut the exercise back. Hell, maybe only do 10 total exercises. But get in there and make it in a way where you could progress. So you do 10 exercises this workout, do 12 the next workout, and so on and so forth. And that should help you out, Colton. From Joe Ream. Hey, Mark, do you ever get pain in one or both your elbows that makes it hard to lift? If so, how do you go about your routines when the pain flares up? Well, honestly, elbow pain for me, it was really bad, and they'd actually be inflamed, and they've gone down a lot. Essentially, I was just lifting too often. When I took my training routine from 6 days to 4 days and stopped giving arms their own heavy day, if I do anything, it'll be a high volume pump day, but I just do arms after I do chest and after I do shoulders. I do biceps after chest and triceps after shoulders. I found that the recovery has allowed my elbows to heal, and it's allowed me to kind of come to a point where I can lift myself up. Before, if I was to do this, it would pop, it would crack, it would hurt so frigging bad. But now I'm at a point where it just feels a lot better. The key is frequency and volume. And people always look at, well, you can't overtrain. Volume, volume, volume. That's great, but your joints can overtrain. And your joints do need some rest and recovery. So just be cognizant of that. So yes, I have had that. And the way I cut back on that is simply by decreasing volume. I didn't like cut down on weight I'm doing either. I'm still going hard, heavy, beyond failure. But the volume is down. I'm giving my body a chance to heal. Question 2, is it wise to split up your workouts? Meaning example, Monday tri, Tuesday chest, Wednesday back, Thursday bi, Friday shoulders, Saturday leg and core. I've started doing this due to time reasons. Considering I work 13.5-hour days, my schedule is jacked up, so I try to save time by splitting. Should I continue, do you think, or go back to my old setup as back, shoulder, chest, tri, leg, bi, forearm? I do not think that triceps and biceps should have their own day. Like, can you imagine a day where you just do curls? What is that going to take you, like 15 minutes? I would go and it doesn't need longer than 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Do 4-day-a-week training and have those 2 days off. So for example, Monday, do legs, okay? Tuesday, do chest and bicep. Wednesday, off. Thursday, do shoulders and triceps, okay? Thursday, do deadlifts and back. And Friday, do shoulders and do triceps, okay? So you don't need to completely take every day in the gym. That's a lot of days in the gym. And I'd venture to say that your schedule would be better served by having those days off. And also you have weekends. So if you work 5 days a week, maybe you should go Sunday, Monday, or Saturday, Sunday, off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, Friday. Look at something like that where you utilize your weekends, and that way you can take advantage of those 13.5-hour days. From Chris Schlitt. Will you ever come back to Indiana? I was just in Marion in Indiana 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure there'll be a time I'll be back in Indiana. I'm just not sure when. Also, will you do a video with Rich Piana? The chances are slim to none to fuck no. I just have no respect for the guy, and I don't want to be in a video with him. From Josh Heffelman. I have surgery on May 1st for my ankle. Aside from healthy diet and rest, what nutritional supplements would help me get back on my feet in the shortest period of time? Josh, I'm just looking at keeping you healthy in that time. I'd have nectar and machine greens, ambrosia nectar and machine greens. Depending on clotting issues, I'd have fish oil. At the Tech Nutrition, fish oil 5 a day gives you 3 grams of EPA DHA combo. And machine motion, which helps with tendon, joint, and all that good stuff. So those are exactly what I would recommend for you. From Juan TR. Can and should people reverse diet when over 20% body fat if their metabolism is a little slower than normal or just shot? Many talk about reverse dieting for lean people, but never for people who carry more fat. Are there any cons of reverse dieting when you're a little fatter? At what point do you know you should reverse diet? If you're on like 800 calories and you're that fat, yeah, you probably should add in some calories, but I'd also be cognizant to be sure to dial it back. Now, chances are you are not measuring your food. If you're 20% body fat and you're truly at low calories, normally I find people in that situation cheat on their diet. So assuming that you're getting an absurdly low amount of calories, and keep in mind it depends how much muscle you have. A lot of people I've found at 20%, not necessarily reverse, but keep their calories where they maintain their weight, but weight train hard. I found the main variable in results or no results is training intensity. If you're training intensely and your weight's maintaining, chances are you're going to be growing muscle and recompositioning, which means improving your muscular weight and decreasing your body fat. So I've found that if you're that high of body fat and you're on low calories, maintain that weight, but train really fucking hard with weights to make sure that your muscle mass is increased and your body fat decreases. I found that works a lot of the time, but again, the body is not a textbook and it just depends on your situation. Without knowing more about you, I can't help much more than that. So thank you for the question, Juan. From Michael Hager, to increase the mind-muscle connection, what do you think of? Do you have any secrets or technique you use? Honestly, when I'm going beyond failure in a set, I put myself in a happy place or a mad place. And my only thing is to zone out and focus on that muscle just coming in and contracting and lifting the weight. I'm trying not to lift the weight. I'm trying to contract the muscle. The harder I contract, the more force I'll put on the weight and the more that weight will move. So what I was doing, let's say my overload set of leg press yesterday, My wife's there spotting me. And actually our good friend came up to us. He's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? You're possessed. What I do is I think about my quadricep, my glute coming together and firing, and I think that weight is gonna move, and I just grind. I force it up. That's all I think about. I don't think about trains, planes, automobiles. I don't think about naked bitches. I think about lifting some heavy ass weight. From Paulius Pods, best tips on managing type 1 diabetes and supplementing TRT with being type 1. If you're supplementing TRT and you're type 1 diabetic, that's something that should be handled by your doctor because TRT is doctor prescribed. So for that question, I will defer to your doctor. But if you're type 1 and you're using insulin to control your type 1, you should be normal because that insulin is acting as your insulin through an exogenous rather than endogenous source. From John Burnfield. I take Vasky first thing in the morning every day with breakfast and BCAA. It works great to make my muscles full during the day, and then I take a pre-workout before the gym around 5. Will I build a tolerance to Vasky? No. In fact, nitrosogene has been shown in studies to not only work well when you first take it, but it actually works better and better and better over time. So the actual tolerance effect is actually a good thing in nitrosogene, where it works better. And nitrosogene is 1/3 the components, and not counting vitamin C, in Vasky. Appreciate your time. But thank you for the free sample shakers and fast shipping. I've been telling everyone in Vegas, that's awesome. Our Vegas location gets everything from Vegas to Southern and Northern California within a 1-day ship. For free, over $99 at tigerfitness.com. From Chris Pena. What are your best all-time lifts between 1 and 3 reps on the big 4? Squat, bench, dead, and OHP. My deadlift, I got 725 at Tiger Fitness headquarters last year. My squat, I have not touched since I was 20 years old, and that would be 675 pounds. My overhead press, I don't even know. I can go up to 225 for reps. And my bench press, my best I've ever gotten is, I believe I got 405 for 11 with a slingshot about a year ago. From Kazuki Andres Kimura Mendoza. Holy shit, it must take you a long time to sign your name. Hey Mark, big fan, appreciate your knowledge and the goal of helping people live healthy lives. Just wondering what your thoughts experience with phosphatidic acid and HMB. I have a general understanding of what they do, just want to know if you think they are products worth trying out. Appreciate your time. HMB, the study showing its efficacy is on beginners. But I will speculate that hard training athletes and professionals will benefit from HMB. However, it's cost prohibitive. To that note, I do not usually recommend HMB. It's a cost driver and a formula, and I don't think it's worth the price. However, does it have benefits for beginners as well as hard training athletes? Abso-fucking-lutely. As for phosphatidic acid, I think it's a fine supplement. If I had to choose what I do, I'd stack phosphatidic acid with Peak Physicor because the synergies between the two. However, if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose Peak Physicor due to the astounding data on both Peak O2 and Physicor. Rolando, let's see how many we have. We have enough for another Q&A easily. Where did Rolando Vasquez, boom! What are some supplement ingredients that have helped with stubborn fat? Obliques, some ab are noticeable, but stubborn fat on the lower part areas. Also, what are some ingredients that help with vascularity? Rolando, you're looking for supplements to do the work for you, and supplements just do that. They supplement, they don't substitute. So with that being said, the number one thing you need to do is diet. Go to dropfactorbook.com. That's dropfactorbook.com. That's my book that'll teach you how to diet and train. As for supplements, Drop Factor and Tyrant is a great stack for fat loss, and as well as other things, but those are the two I'd recommend off the bat, top two. Physicor I'd throw in there as well. As for vascularity, Clash, Vasky, and Peak Physicor would be the 3 I'd recommend. Peak Physicor, Vasky, and Clash. But again, nothing works unless you do. Get that diet and training in check. Mark from Thomas Evans. Will you be at the Body Power Expo in the UK on this Friday this year? I will not be at Body Power this year. Sorry, just can't go. From Ashley Greenberg. Mark, can you take Peak Physicor with Drop Factor? Yes, you can. And if so, how'd you recommend taking them? Strictly per label, Ashley. Peak Physicor, take either in the morning or pre-workout. with breakfast or pre-workout, or it doesn't matter when you take it. Drop factor, take with your first meal of the day as well as 6 hours later. My workouts are scheduled once in the morning, 5:30 to 7, and again in the afternoon, 11:30 to 1. I've had this lifting. You're training twice a day. Man, I mean, I would actually have it before the 5:30 a.m. session, and then I'd have a pre-workout before the 11:30 a.m. session, have my last drop factor dose around 3 to 4 p.m. From Aaron Kerr. Hi Mark, I was hoping you could help me out with some training advice. I was recently diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome by my sports doctor, which came about because I was having numbness in my face, hands, and arms after training one day. I've since been through physical therapy and the numbness went away. How can I still train chest and shoulders as heavy as possible without risking numbness again? What are the best forms of recovery for someone who lifts heavy and has constant muscle tension all the time? It's to the point where last time I went heavy on chest day, I had so much tension in my neck, shoulders, and around my shoulder blades that no matter how much I would stretch or foam roll my muscle, I would not relax. Thank you for any help. I appreciate it. Aaron, I am not qualified to answer that. I do not even know what that condition is, and I apologize. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm simply an exos trainer and coach. I am not a medical doctor, and I do not know how to train with that condition. If I worked with your physical therapist, I would know. However, without any further knowledge of the situation, I cannot help you. One more, Tony Fazzini. Hello, Mark. Thanks for answering my last question. I actually sell and take your supplements. My question is, I sprained my Achilles playing basketball. Ouch, and it is very swollen. Told ibuprofen stops muscle growth. Is it safe to take to reduce swelling? Don't take it. The bottom line is rest, ice, compression, and elevation is a thing of the past. Swelling is a necessary process in recovery. I would not take ibuprofen. I would make sure that you start working that thing out. Go to a physical therapist, get it worked out, get some opinion there. But my understanding is the last thing you want to do is take ibuprofen. That will actually slow the recovery process because swelling is a necessary part of recovery. I'm Mark Lobliner, tigerfitness.com. Next one's coming soon, and that's not a game. So I'm looking at my email this morning. I get a mass email from one of the other sites that sell supplements that you're just a number to, right? They were bragging that one supplement line was free shipping. Bro, if you order over $99 in product in the continental US, any day of the week, free shipping anywhere in the US, at continental USA. Free shipping on orders over $99 at tigerfitness.com. Why even look at the other guys? And also, we ship from Vegas and Ohio. Most places in the US are a 1 to 2 day ship, and that's not a game.